Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Today is November 11th. Before I get started in talking about what we're here today, I'd like to just give a heartfelt prayer of thanksgiving to all of those that gave their lives for this country, all those people that continue to serve. This is a special day. This is a hallowed day. Growing up, my dad served in World War II in the Navy, and people were called to serve. And then we had Korea, Vietnam, and the people serving today. And so we can never forget, and we can never give them enough thanks for what they've done for this nation. And one of the things that they fought for is for our right, our freedom, to have free and fair elections. So that is, at the end of the day, what we really need to be mindful of, particularly in our office, as we work, finishing up and closing out the election that we just had. I also want to give a heartfelt thanks to the men and women who are standing with me here today. These are election directors from across Georgia. They represent large counties, small counties, diverse counties, and just from all over the state of Georgia. They and their staff are the ones that do the hard work on the ground of making sure that all legal votes will be counted. Their job is hard. They executed their responsibilities, and they did their job. This is a process. It is a process defined by law. These men and women in my office will continue to follow the law and count every legal vote. As it stands today, 97 counties have sent their final numbers in. The current margin stands at 14,111 between the President and Senator Biden, Vice President Biden. My office will continue to investigate each and every instance of illegal voting. Double voting, felon voting, people voting out of state. If you report it, we will investigate it. Every legal vote will count. We will continue to follow and enforce the law. Now let's look at the next steps. We are currently looking at having a statewide runoff on December 1 and another on January 5th. This is an untenable situation for these men and women to try and run both of these elections. With that, under my powers under the health emergency, I am moving the date of the December 1st election to coincide with the federal runoff on January 5th. This will protect the integrity of both elections and make for better election administration. It has the added benefit of saving taxpayers millions of dollars. The reason we have so many of these on rollover lists voters is a direct function of COVID. This is the reality. The next step in the current election process is getting the final county certifications in. We'll then move to the risk limiting audit, or RLA. At 1 p.m. today, I will make the official designation of which race will be the subject of the RLA. At that time, I will designate that the RLA will be the presidential race. With the margin being so close, it will require a full by-hand recount in each county. This will help build confidence. It will be an audit, a recount, and a recanvass all at once. It will be a heavy lift, but we will work with the counties to get this done in time for our state certification. Many of these workers will be working plenty of overtime. We have all worked hard to bring fair and accurate counts to assure that the will of the voters is reflected in the final count and that every voter will have confidence in the outcome whether their candidate won or lost. Thank you for coming today. Do we have any questions? Well, because we now have that verifiable paper ballot, for the first time in 18 years, we're going to have something to count instead of just pressing a button and getting the same answer. So we'll be counting every single piece of paper, every single ballot, every single lawfully cast legal ballot. That will be the names that are on the ballot, whoever they voted for president, the English written word. Yes, we will. As I said, people will be working lots of overtime next coming week. Lots of people will be really pleased with those paychecks if they're getting overtime. That'll be coming out of, we'll determine at some point. Adding additional workers, we will probably have to augment that, and we'll be looking at that, and that'll be the election directors at each county will be able, they'll actually handle their own additional, or their own county recount or risk limiting audit county by county.
Is this how this audit was designed to work? I thought originally it was supposed to be looking at a small segment of the votes.
Yeah. Well, that's what's really interesting when you start really digging into probability theorem. When you have 5 million votes and the margin is so close, 14,000. If we pulled out 10,000 votes, all of a sudden it could say, well, this is the person that won. We pull out 100,000, it says this person won. We pull out 1 million, this person won. And that's why mathematically you actually have to do a full hand-by-hand recount of all because the margin is so close. Right now it's 14,101. So it's really just the mathematics, the statistics, the probability theorems that we use for the risk limiting that are taking us to that extent. So if it was another race or you didn't have that such a close thing, then you could do that and it would just be a sample size. But you can't do that when it's that close. This race has national significance, national importance. We get that. We understand that. We do. We follow the process, and we understand the significance of this for not just Georgia, but for every single American. At the end of the day, when we do a hand count, then we can answer the question exactly what was the final margin in this race. Yes, ma'am. Oh, absolutely. Well, we've been open and transparent. In fact, we've had multiple meetings like this, meeting with the press. Gabriel Sterling, our implementation manager, has come out to talk to you, really digging into the weeds. If you have any information about illegal voting or voter fraud, bring that to our attention. We will investigate every case that we hear. I'm hearing that that just came out this morning. We'll look at those records and we'll start digging into that. It really is what the numbers take us to, and we're following the process that would drive us to that, that's in current state law.
And is it reasonable to believe that the results will change much? 14,000 votes. Is there any chance that the outcome or the results of the presidential election would change as a result? Is it possible that 14,000 votes could flip?
You're asking me to make predictions, and what we're going to deal is in facts. And so I'll report the facts, and then I'll get up my calculator and I'll get that back to you. I can't do that off the cuff. Thank you. That's a good question, but after it is certified, the candidate that is within 0.5%, I believe, would still be entitled to a recount, but that would be a scan recount just because of that is what is in state law. Yes, sir. We're going to continue to work with the counties and all that, but that's their deadline. And that is the process that we have in place. And we've had great cooperation and dedication from the county election officials. That's why we have so many here. We have professionals out there. And at the end of the day, I know that I haven't asked them, but I know that there's some folks back here that maybe vote this way and other folks that vote that way, and some go this way, that way on different elections. At the end of the day, though, they're following a process. And then what they want is they never want you to be able to question their integrity. And that's what we want for everyone to understand, that we're following a process. Integrity still matters. We'll continue with every county that we have, and if there's some that are still buttoning it up, then we'll roll to that. Hopefully that's the smaller counties. It'll take every bit of the time that we have left, for sure. It's a big lift.
So by that you mean just
The- we certify. Our date is November 20th.
You've been saying for more than a year that we should absolutely trust the QR code, so why isn't hand recount necessary right now?
Statistically, because of where we are there, we have a team of people, national experts that have worked on risk limiting audits in several other states. They're part of our team. This is not just a decision we made unilaterally. We reached out to these experts. We've been working with them for several months, and we just follow the science of a risk limiting audit. We follow the numbers, and that's where it leads us to count every single ballot by hand.
Does this mean that county certification deadlines are no longer in effect or extended to November 20th?
No, they're still required, and we want them here by Friday at the latest. We have 97 counties already.
Can the recount begin before counties certify? If the original county certifies and then the recount begins,
I'll talk to legal about that, but we want to start this really before the week is up because we understand there's an awful lot to do. Yes, sir.
this is a little repetitive. Could you elaborate again on the timeline of the audit and what is going to be counted exactly?
The ballot that you had, whether it was an absentee ballot, if you sent that in, or if it was voted by in person like I did, we'll look at that ballot, and someone's going to look at who did you want, and they're just going to go through that, and you'll have two people that are doing all the counting. They'll put them out and just in stacks and make sure that the stack has, let's say, 1,000 ballots, and then you look at the end, you had 501 for this person, 499 for that one. You just keep on rolling through, and that's how it's going to be all the way through, and you're going to tally it all up. It's a big process. It'll be a methodical process, and it'll be an accurate process. And I'm sure that there'll be plenty of oversight. We want to make sure that both parties have the opportunity to observe this because we understand the stakes are high. I don't really know, and we do what we do in Georgia. We follow our laws. And every state is 50 states, 50 different election laws.
What do you do if these hand counts don't match the computer counts? Do you count again?
No, that would then become the risk limit audit and becomes a full recount, and that is what we're going to be certifying on November 20th. So thank you very much. That'll be what we certify because that'll be the last count, and that'll be the most accurate count. That'll be the paper ballot count. Well, it is actually an audit. It's all in one. It's an audit, a recanvass, and a recount all in one because it'll be just really a process that gets it all. Yeah. Well, what many people aren't aware of is that where we are in the process right now in our counting, we're in the same place that Florida is, North Carolina, and Texas. The thing is, in those races, it's not real close. In our case, there's 14,101 votes right now that separate the top versus number two. And so, therefore, all eyes have focused on that, and that's really why you're seeing that. But the other states are still out there tabulating their absentee ballots. Thank you for bringing that up. That's still going on. The 5th District is not affected by what we're doing here.
Secretary, as you know, the Republican Party is saying that a lot of Republican voters and Trump supporters in particular do not trust the election results. It's not the matching the person to the computer scan. It's did dead people vote? Did the mail service, did employees from the postal service steal the election? How will you remedy that in counting the votes? I mean, are you going to call persons who voted and say and ask, did you vote for this person? Is this person alive in your family? How do you remedy those accusations? How do you get to the bottom of it?
Well, number one, I am not the Postmaster General. We have no control over the Federal Postal Service. So when people mail their ballots back, it's then under federal government control and the federal, post office, postal service. Once it gets to the counties, then that's when the counties, have handled that. Through this process, we believe that, and we know that the machines are correct, and what you're going to find, we believe, in the count. As it relates to dead people and other, forms of illegal voting, that's why we've asked for, if you know of a case of illegal voting or suspected illegal voting, bring that to us. anecdotes and stories doesn't work. We need something that we can actually investigate. I'm actually very grateful that Attorney General Barr, I respect that man. This is his second round as being Attorney General of the United States of America, and he is a calm, very thorough attorney, and he's directed his U.S. attorneys to look for things. And the one thing that the federal government does have is resources that we don't have. And so if they can find something that we can't, that can help to bring to bear, we want to make sure that the only people that vote are legal voters. Yeah, that we're counting what the paper ballots are, and those will be ongoing investigations. No, we can pick whatever one we pick, but we understand the national significance of this session right now. Next time it may be some other statewide race. In fact, as we roll this out, you have to understand, many states that are doing wrist limiting to almond, it took them 5 to 7 years to get this going. When Colorado did it, that was a long, multi-year process. We've passed House Bill HB 316 in 2019. We stood up, in spite of COVID, a risk limiting audit this year. And so in 9 months, 11 months, we're going to do the first statewide election with a risk limiting audit. So this is record time that we've done this. We're actually eventually going to be doing risk limiting audits for a host of elections to give you, the voter, confidence that when you've cast your ballot, it was accurately counted, that you have the confidence, and you can leave at the end of the day knowing the system got it right. And then when we do that, we think it really is good for all of the Georgia.
Are you doing this full recount because the Trump campaign asked you to?
No, we're doing this because it is really what makes the most sense. With the national significance of this race and the closeness of this race, we have to run a statewide audit. This is the race that makes the most sense. Logically, as I worked with our team, this is really what made the most sense, and we'll be following the process on that. Yeah, it is. We understand that typically the counties fund their own elections, and this is part of one of the things that they buy into. And right now, everyone's in austerity cuts, so that's the issue. But that's where we are, and I don't have an answer specific on that. I have my domain as Secretary of State, and I can only have my authority that I have within office, and we don't. That is something that would really be what the General Assembly perhaps could do to help the counties. At the present time, that would be what it would be.
Secretary, in your media releases to all of us, you bill yourself as Georgia as a national leader in elections. Has anything changed in that, or do you still consider yourself a national leader?
Yeah, I think Georgia's done a great job. If you look what we've accomplished in this past year, we stood up a new voting system, new voting machines in less than 6 months. And that was really because we had an activist federal judge that said you can't use the old DRE machines. And so we had to do that for the first primary that we had coming up. All of a sudden, we got hit with COVID that started hitting in February. And then March, the General Assembly had to take a hiatus around March 15th. And so then we had to do a 360 or a 180 on what are we going to do here so that we can run elections that are safe for voters, and what does that look like? And then coming out of that, we stood up an absentee ballot portal, so that we could have safe, secure requests for absentee ballots that required voters to tell us your name, day, month, and year, so we could identify you, and then also your Department of Driver's, service, your driver's license number, so we make sure it truly is the voter that's requesting this absentee ballot for additional security. And then we added ballot tracks. Then we added the wait time. And then we had very successful early day voting. We had a few lines the first couple of days, and then we had record 2.8 million voters plus voted in early voting. And we had very short lines for that. State Farm stood up, but across the state, every one of these election directors had great success. Then on the day of election, we had average wait time in the afternoon was about 2 minutes. At one point, I screenshot it, put it out there on Facebook. We had wait times. The longest wait time was 40 minutes. It dropped down to 20 minutes, and before it was 10 minutes. So tremendous, results. And so I think that we've led in so many different areas, and we've proven that every vote counts and integrity matters. At the end of the day, that's good. Well, then we just have to continue that process. But we have our, our charge. November 20th is our day. And the one thing that we've learned in the construction industry, I've been in this thing really, hit my first construction job site when I was about 6 years old, sitting in my dad's pickup truck. And so I say all that. I grew up with the idea of deadlines, and in our business, it is all about deadlines. And every day, it's about hitting deadlines. And our election directors, they know all about deadlines because we have this date for this date for that. Registration, this early vote, day of election, and then all of a sudden you have a runoff, and then you roll into next year. We're going to have city and municipal elections, and then we're going to roll into the next year. So this whole operation is deadline driven.
I'm just trying to understand how hundreds of human beings working long hours are going to be more accurate than a computer.
Well, that's why there'll be plenty of eyeballs on them to verify that every vote is accurately counted. And that's the way the process works because of the large number of votes and the closeness of the vote. It's the only way to do that. We've talked to our risk limiting experts in our office and also national experts in that. We're following the process. Thank you very much for coming out. We'll have another announcement later today. Thank you.
A recount, everyone, has been ordered in the state of Georgia. The Secretary of State there saying that about 14,000 votes are all that separates President Donald Trump and Joe Biden from essentially winning the state of Georgia there. But a recount is going to be underway, a by-hand recount, matter of fact. So it's likely going to take them quite some time there in the state of Georgia. They say they're going to determine which votes are valid and obviously weed out the ones that aren't. But our sister station Fox 5 in Atlanta is reporting that